Welcome back, everyone. I'm Apolo Ohno, and this is Making Team USA presented by Xfinity. This is our roster announcement special, a chance for us to connect with some of the fortunate few from across the landscape of Winter Olympic sports who are all now officially part of the 2026 Milano Cortina Games. We call it the toughest team to make for a reason. From cross-country skiing to hockey and alpine skiing, today we'll speak to some of America's best and get one last chance to hear about their incredible journeys. I'm also super pumped to sit down with my friend and Olympic legend Kristi Yamaguchi to unpack all the stories around the US figure skating team as they get ready to head to Italy. Let's get started and celebrate with these athletes and their journeys to making Team USA. Jessie Diggins, welcome to Making Team USA, where I should actually say you've made Team USA. This is not your first games. You've made 3 Olympic teams. This is your 4th Olympic team. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right. So as we were kind of chatting a little bit before we started recording, I love this stuff. This is our roster announcement special. You are a OG in your sport, and cross-country skiing is one of those sports that is so incredibly demanding, not only from a cardiovascular perspective, VO2 max, but all the pressures around, and especially coming from the US background, where we have not been traditionally that dominant in relation to like a speed skating or other sports. And so what you did, I know that 2014 was your first games, but first off, before we get into the details, I want you to talk to me about like, what does it feel like now that you are in your 4th tier? This is the 4th, this is the 4th games. What does this mean?
It's super fun. My first games, I was the baby of the team. I was actually the baby of the US team for like 6 years, and it was super fun. I felt like the little sister just following around on my teammates and getting to ask questions and learn from them. And now I'm the team mom, and that's really fun. It's a very different role for me, and I honestly love it. I get a chance to be there for my younger teammates and get to walk them through their first games and help them figure out, here's what to expect. The lights are, the lights are bright. There's a lot going on. There's so much coming at you all at once. And so for me, this final games, I'm really excited to get to be there as kind of a mentorship team mama bear role, but also just to enjoy it with my friends and my family. I think I'm up to like 80 people that I know who are coming to the games, including my family, my husband, his family. Like my little sister is going to be cheering louder than anyone in the whole world. And especially after the last games with COVID, it was so isolating and no one could come to cheer for us and to experience it with us. So getting to have like all of my people, like my high school coach and her whole family are coming, and like I babysat her kids and like they're going to be there cheering. And it just feels very full circle for this last time.
I can relate to that a lot. I know a lot about that full circle moment. For me, it was in 2010 when I'm in my last games, when I competed in Vancouver. I grew up in Seattle. Vancouver is where I learned how to speed skate. So I'm familiar with like completing the circle, so to speak. That's awesome. I think like family support and it's something that makes it more meaningful. And I think that, I don't know if you relate to this, but typically when we see people stand on the podium, like i.e. when we look at your 2018 gold story, which is like burned into my memory. I remember like listening to this and watching this, and the announcers be like, here comes Diggins, gold for the United States. Like, and then you collapse at the finish line. Like, dude, that's like so badass, right? And what was so cool was that after you had the final leg, you were in 4th, right?
We had whittled it down to 3 teams. So it was us and Sweden and Norway, which are the 2 powerhouses of cross-country skiing. They had dominated the sport for a very long time. So I knew, like, unless I break both skis and both poles, we're going to get a medal. But now I get to decide, like, what color is it going to be? And I wanted that for my teammates so bad because I love Keegan, and she's, like, family, not just my teammate. And so it's this cool feeling of, like, when your teammates' hopes and dreams and goals are on the line, you're just going to turn yourself inside out for them, and that's why I collapsed at the finish, because I was in so much pain. I couldn't even think, but it was absolutely worth it because, like I wanted to do everything I possibly could for her and for the team and for the coaches and the wax techs and everyone who had given everything to give us that opportunity.
That was awesome. You hunted it down. It was like just you were the hunter. Really cool. All right, talk to me a little bit about I know this is a meaningful moment, your fourth games, but for a lot of people that are not familiar with cross-country skiing competitively, we know what cross-country skiing is, but I don't think many people know how dang demanding it is. Like the training, the requirement for the physicality. Just walk people through what some of these things are.
Yeah. Well, one thing I love about this sport is that at entry level, it is for everyone. I mean, there are 90-year-olds skiing the Birkie race in Norway, right? And so this is a lifelong sport. It's very cradle to grave, and kind of like running, it is what you make it, right? You can go for a social jog with friends, or you're like, I'm running Boston Marathon as fast as I can, right? So it is what you want it to be. But at the very end of the spectrum, at the highest level of the sport, it is incredibly demanding. And we are training twice a day, 6 days a week. And we're going for really long sessions a lot of the time. So one of the sessions that I would do often in the summer to prepare is a 3 or 4 hour run on trails to just get your body used to moving for that amount of time. And it's a low effort.
Hold on, slow down. What do you mean? You just randomly going for a 4 hour run? 4 hour run? You're just going solo, out in the trails?
Well, sometimes I have teammates that I train with. I have a great club team out in Stratton, Vermont. But yeah, that's we'll go for a typical hard day training session is 2.5 hours of roller skiing in the morning. And roller skiing, it's a little bit like roller blades, but they're longer, 2 wheels, no brakes, and you have poles with special tips that stick into the asphalt. So you can roller ski on the roads. And it's the closest thing we have to the same motions and muscle movements as on snow skiing. And so you have a 2.5 hour workout in the morning with intensity. So repeats of hard intervals, you're going uphill, you're hanging on your poles at the end of it, each rep, and then you have to collect yourself and do it again. And then in the afternoon, we'll run for a half hour warm up and then lift weights for an hour in the gym. And that's a pretty key session that happens 2 or 3 times a week. And then in between, it's those long volume sessions.
That's pretty intense. Cross-country skiing, I think, is often called one of the hardest endurance sports on earth. It's a full body training and full body workout. I mean, there's no rest really during the races. It's just the demands on your lung capacity are incredible. It's very interesting. Talk about your pre-race prep, because I love this part, right? So I love when athletes get into flow, and I'm sure that you know what that feels like. It's this magical moment where time slows down. It's almost like you're obviously pushing yourself really hard, but it's like you can bend time and space almost at your will. So walk me through what is your pre-race ritual and how do you get into that zone?
Yeah. Well, it probably looks a lot different than a lot of athletes that Sometimes people, they can be really intense, really focused. And I'm cracking jokes with my wax tech. We really have a good thing of dad jokes we go back and forth with. So it's very relaxed. It's very joyful. It's very happy. And for me, that is really, really important, because the happier and more relaxed I am, the more ready I am to suffer. And it's kind of this inverse relationship, right? Where when everything in my life is going great, I can give so much during the race, and I can put myself deep in the pain cave, because I know that once I cross the finish line, boom, everything's great again. I love my life. It's going great. And so one of the things I do to remind myself, hey, this is supposed to be fun. It's sport. It's quite literally fun and games. We're in the entertainment category, And so I put glitter on my cheeks, and the sparkles are this reminder and a promise to myself. I'm just going to go out there and give it the best that I have and enjoy it. Smile on the start line. You get to race at the Olympics. You're literally living your childhood dream. Soak in this moment. and then go out
I
there
love that.
and, lay down everything you possibly have. So I think it's a cool ritual for me that gets me in the right frame of mind.
I love that. So you've got like, I would agree there. There's like something really beautiful about the play moment of like returning back to play and fun. I think as we, sport is especially Olympic sport is so demanding, and we care so much about those outcomes that I feel like over time that sometimes gets trained out of us because we focus so much on this result. I think anyone can relate to that, right? When you care so much about an outcome, it's easy to forget why you began doing this thing in the first place. And why you began was because you just got like obsessed with it. You were fascinated with it. You couldn't stop thinking about it. It was fun. And I think that's really important, especially for young athletes to see and watch you compete, to see like, wow, she's performing at the highest levels possible on the planet, but she brings it back to something that's relatable. I'm sure that actually inspires a lot of young athletes. And which brings me to my next question, which I think is a really important topic. I know that there's a ton of challenges associated, especially with demanding sports like yours, but all Olympic paths. And I just want you to walk through, because this has been something that I think is really interesting about how you destigmatize mental health in athletics, particularly using cross-country skiing as that platform, but really, this is about people who suffer, and I'd love to hear about your personal story.
Yeah, thanks for asking, because this is the most important thing that I do. And for the record, whenever anyone's asked me like, what are you most proud of? It is not the Olympics. It is not the medals. It is talking about eating disorders and mental health and trying to let people know you're not alone. There's nothing wrong with you. This isn't something you asked for. This isn't something you chose. This is not a behavioral choice or a problem. I mean, it is a problem in that it's incredibly hard, but you didn't do anything to deserve this. And I think it's really important to continue our awareness and education around all mental health, because it has been so stigmatized. It's so hard to talk about. But I had an eating disorder that surfaced when I was 18 years old. I was diagnosed with bulimia and went to the Emily program to receive professional help. And they saved my life, and they helped me save my own life by learning the tools to put into my mental toolbox, because at the core of my eating disorder, it was a coping mechanism for the extreme perfectionism and anxiety I was placing on myself to try to be perfect in every single thing that I did, which I'm sure most athletes can relate to, right? On some level. But I had to learn some alternative coping mechanisms that were actually healthy and helpful for me instead of ultimately destructive. And so I learned how to take better care of myself, how to be okay with having really hard emotions, and be okay with recognizing that I have needs, and it's okay to ask for what I need and to ask for help when I need it. And then a couple years ago, I went through a relapse of that eating disorder. And so I got to experience asking for help all over again. And I wanted to share that with people, because in that moment where I realized my eating disorder had resurfaced, I felt like I had failed, like I felt like,
Sure.
Oh my God, I thought I was past this. I thought I had healed from this. Why is this back in my life? And in hindsight, it was pretty obvious, which is a whole nother conversation we can get into if you want. But I was pushing past a lot of warning signs, and my eating disorder came back as this final way of being like, I'm going to bench you because you need to rest, and you're not listening to what your body needs. And so here I am, I'm back again, because this is what's going to make you stop and rest and start taking better care of yourself. So I felt like I needed to share that, because people deal with difficult situations all the time in mental health and eating disorders, but also in life, where you feel like, wow, I'm in over my head here. I need to ask for help. This is challenging. It's hard to ask for help. And people need to know, like, it's okay to bring people in. Like, when you open up and are vulnerable and tell people like, hey, this is what I'm dealing with, I need your support. Like, it's amazing how much love you feel. And it's incredible. And, whenever I get a chance to help someone else, that makes me feel good. Like, oh my God, I'm part of their team. Like, I'm there for them. I get to show them how much I love them. And so when you flip that around, you go, well, who am I to deny the important people in my life the chance to be there for me? Right. So I think it's an important way to see it, and to recognize that it is okay to ask for help when you need it. That does not make you weak. It actually makes you incredibly strong and incredibly brave.
Yeah, very well said. That's very powerful. I think there's so many there's so many young athletes who struggle. There's just people who struggle, right? There's a lot of challenges that we exist, and with the way that we're just constantly being shown, this is what you should have, this is what you should look like, this is what's required of you. I think it warps and changes the normalized view of oneself, right? As we have that image of ourselves, and so I commend you for really aligning with that organization and that program. I think it's really critical for a lot of young folks, especially. And thank you. I know that you you talk about this in your book, right? Brave Enough.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it was important for me to write the book because I felt like it could potentially be used as an icebreaker for families who need to talk about mental health, for kids who need to talk to their coach, for coaches who wanted to learn, gosh, like what might it be like inside the brain of someone that I'm working with who's going through an eating disorder. I felt like it was really important for me to really open up, as terrifying as it was. But sometimes if you want something to change, you have to be willing to put some skin in the game. Like, what are you willing to do to change an entire system? Are you willing to put your story out there so that other people can have a better story? Like, that was basically the question I had to wrestle with. And I decided it was worth it. And the feedback has been absolutely humbling in a beautiful way to hear from so many people like, oh my God, I had a story just like yours. And I feel less alone. And, I'm a coach who works with young athletes, and I had the opportunity to help a young man under my coaching get the help he needs. Or like I had the opportunity as a mom to talk to my daughter about this as she's going through a hard time. It's been really impactful. And I should say it also goes both ways. I get so inspired by the people who reach out to me. It's just like a one-way street, like inspiration flows back and forth. And it makes me feel like I'm better able to tackle the challenges in my life when I hear from people who have been brave enough to tackle the challenges in theirs.
Amazing. All right, some final send-off questions. All right, these are rapid fire. I just want you just to say the first thing that comes to your mind, right? So, Look, we've been talking about mental health. For all of the athletes that are currently struggling, either going into these games or who are going to be watching you compete, what do you tell them?
Create a support team that you trust with anything, and then lean on that support team.
Got it. I call that my personal board of directors.
I like that.
Yeah. People that want the best for you, that you can lean on, that give you the hard, cold truths sometimes when you don't want to hear it, but they're there for the right reasons. I think that's really important. All right. You dance. I know you do a lot of fun dance. I'm assuming that comes from a place of joy. It's probably tied deeply into the glitter side, but this is your final Olympics. When the last race is over and you take off those skis for the final time, who is Jessie Diggins then?
Oh, this is a rapid fire question? Oh man. Jessie Diggins is someone who likes to do silly TikTok dances and will probably still be wearing glitter, really likes to garden and bake and hang out with friends, and just, someone who will still be involved in advocacy at a very high level, probably for the rest of her life, hopefully.
Amazing.
But there's a lot of other sides to who I am, which is really fun to know that all of that is still there when the bib comes off.
When the bib comes off, all those attributes, all those life skills are going to be embedded within you. And then you'll transition into the next phase of your life, right? And that next chapter with pen and pad at hand is pretty powerful. So when you cross that finish line, what is something that you feel what is it that you want to feel? Okay, let's remove the results, because obviously a lot of these things are sometimes unpredictable. But what are the emotional things that you are striving for, that you want to feel, that would make this feel like, I got it. This was it. It sounds like you're already there though, but I just want to get that last part.
It is cool. I feel like this whole last season has felt like the ultimate victory lap, and a celebration with my team and my family. And But I just want to feel like, man, I just gave that everything I had. And who cares what the result was? That was my whole heart and soul. I put it down into the snow. That was it. Couldn't have done better.
I love it. Leave it all out there. Jesse, you bring a lot of joy and fun to a sport that sometimes looks cold and gray. So I think that you are that bright light. Thank you so much for your advocacy work. Thank you so much for representing it again in your 4th Olympic Games. Congratulations on making Team USA again. Super pumped to watch you. And I will be screaming, "Here comes Diggins," all over again in Milano Cortina.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for having me. This is really fun.
Ryan, take one.
I'm Ryan Cochran-Siegel, alpine skiing with Team USA. My mantra is love yourself, trust yourself. When I'm in the start gate, this is usually what I think about. Just knowing that I have what it takes and trusting that. I think it's key for everyone too. Finding yourself on the other side, and what gets you there is that, belief in yourself.
All right, Ryan, welcome to Making Team USA, brother. It's good to see you. I know that you've got some more racing ahead of you, but first off, congratulations. You've got a crazy story. You've battled everything from injuries to this incredible sport, which, before we jumped on, I was rewatching some of your highlights and just some of the stuff that happens. And dude, your sport is it's like one of the funnest to watch in the games. I love all Olympic sports. Winter Games to me are obviously very special. But for those people that are not familiar with this really awesome story, and this story has been told many times, but I just think it's so rich with uniqueness, talks about the Olympic and competitive DNA that is embedded in your family. And it goes back many years.
Yeah, it definitely goes back. It's so hard to say too. It's like my whole life I've just grown up a very normal kid in kind of rural Vermont. But obviously, the story starts with first my grandparents kind of passing on the tradition of skiing to, my mom and her siblings, and then they really took it the first step of the way. All 4 of them going to the Olympics, my mom winning Olympic gold in 1972. So, growing up with that heritage, I think it was always cool, and I always loved skiing, loved racing. And, as you kind of continue to develop, especially getting onto the national team in those moments, then it starts to be a little bit more of our shared story. Obviously, making it to the Olympics in 2018, just sharing that similarity with my mom was pretty special. And then winning a medal in 22 was also like very surreal. It was almost 50 years to the day to my mom winning. So, it's definitely like, it's a part of who we are, but I think the reason why we've made it this far is just our passion for skiing and the sport that we all love. I'm privileged to be here, and I love that, aspect of our story and the family connection. But at the end of the day too, I don't think, there is nothing special in our blood or our DNA. I think we're just, embracing our environment, growing up in Vermont, wonderful winters, and just the love for skiing has taken us this far.
Yeah, I think you're very humble. I think it definitely is in the DNA. It's obviously, your genetic talent is mixed with your hard work and your perseverance. 2018 Pyeongchang was your Olympic debut. Then in 2022, I think that you were just shy of winning gold, but you won silver, which was spectacular. And I think that was the only Alpine medal at those games, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Which I think was definitely like a little bit disappointing as a team. The talent that we brought there and didn't quite come to fruition, but I think I was not a medal favorite by any means. So to go there and perform the way I did was definitely spectacular. And just shy of the top step on the podium. But I think all in all, you kind of have to just appreciate that moment. So I enjoyed that. I thought the track there was really fun. The snow was fun to ski, and hoping those memories and kind of understanding in a way what it takes can just help me in these next games too. Definitely looking forward for the upcoming weeks.
Yeah. Well, the Cochran dynasty, multiple Olympians. I love that story about your family, kind of opening up their world of skiing and teaching and educating and giving access, I think, to kids, regardless of their background or where they came from or skill level. I think that that's really important for sport, as we know. And I'm sure you're going to carry that further whenever you decide to fully hang these skis up and go into the next place of your life. I want to talk a little bit around the nonprofit because I think this is really interesting. So, like, talk to me about like where this began, why this is so important for you. You know, your legacy as a hyper-competitive Olympic medalist, you've reached the top in the echelons of performance, and you're giving back. And so, like, what is this actually? What is this all about?
Well, Cochrane's, I mean, so the ski area that where I grew up is called Cochrane Ski Area after our family name. And it was started by my grandfather in 1960. And I mean, back then, it was kind of like very similar to all the other Vermont small, ski areas in the region. Just the T-bar. Actually, back then, it was just a rope tow on the hillside behind my parents' or my mom's house. And that kind of slowly evolved through the 80s, building up a little bit more terrain. But it's still a very small ski area. I mean, there's just a T-bar, 2 rope tows, and another little handheld lift to get people up. So it's very different from, a Vail Resort or those types of other kind of avenues to get into skiing. But we're just focused on, I think, primarily the community that's around us and recognizing winter sports are not accessible to everyone around. Just primarily financially, it's such a burden at times. So we try to kind of bridge that gap. Making skiing and snowboarding as accessible as possible. If you can't afford it, we'll let you go out there and try it out for free. So it's just about getting people in the door and experiencing something that's so strongly tied to Vermont and, the area that we live in. And that's both the community and the land. And it's just, it's still going. It's still a nonprofit. So we're very relying on the support of the community, different donations, these types of things in order to kind of survive through the year. But we've also been able to kind of improve that willingness to be able to go out there, make snow, groom, make quality conditions for people to learn how to ski. And I always love going back. It feels like home to me. It is home to me in a way. So it's a wonderful place, but it'll always be a special place in my heart.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that you guys do that. And your sport is, because it's so fast, right? And kind of one decision away from ripped and torn ACL. There's so many things that are happening out there on these courses. It's just so aggressive and so fast. Every athlete has to battle their own challenges and injuries coming back, which you have paid multiple dues over from my research. What is that like for you? How do you maintain like the positivity when it feels like everything is crumbling around you?
There's definitely, I think there's a special mindset you have to come to, just knowing the risks that are involved with speed skiing and, the events that I take part in. I think for me, it's about the acceptance when you're standing in the start, recognizing, there's certain risk involved, whether it's risk of injury, or, career ending type thing. And I think once you kind of accept that in a way, at least come to terms with it, then you can go out and just focus on, the things that you can control, which is kind of like the movements that you practice every single year, the trust in your skiing, how to make a good turn, kind of the willingness to take speed and find that. So there's a reason why we train. I've been skiing for 31 years now and skiing at this kind of stage for the last decade. So you get comfortable in the uncomfortable situations. And at the end of the day, obviously you want to get away healthy, but you also want to be able to perform your best. And it's that constant battle between those two. So I think also in a way, going through a few injuries myself has given me perspective of both appreciating the opportunities I'm given, being in the start gate, especially at, a situation like the Olympics, like the biggest pinnacle of our sport, and just appreciating that and knowing the work that it takes, both recovering, rehabbing, and getting yourself back. And that journey of getting yourself back, I think allows you to be like, you can face anything if you put your mind to it. So there's a lot of trust and at the same time, it's fun going that fast too. There's a certain element of just letting go and being the best version of yourself.
I love that. If you know anything about this show, Making Team USA, one of my personal passions is talking to the athletes about how they get into the zone, how you get into flow. And, I was doing these deep dives last night. I was reading about this very famous F1 racer named Ayrton Senna, who talks about this one experience that he had about when he was in the flow. And so I just want to read this to you, and I want to get your reaction about how you get into the zone. I'll just go through it really quickly. He says, I was already on pole. Then by a half a second, I just kept going. Suddenly, I was nearly 2 seconds faster than anybody else, including my teammate who had the exact same car. Suddenly, I realized that I was no longer driving the car consciously. I was driving it by instinct, only it was in a different dimension. It was like I was in a tunnel. Not only the tunnel under the hotel, but the whole circuit was a tunnel. I was just going and going and more and more and more. I was way over the limit, but was still able to find more. What does that mean to you?
It's wild how, like, we're all trying to be the best athletes that we could be, and the kind of transcendence from different sports, how you find such a, connection to that. Obviously, F1 driving, you're trying to go fast, and there's an element to that with skiing. Obviously, we're not skiing at the speeds that they're driving at, but there is that. I can definitely connect with that, being fully present and also mentally not having a voice in your head. Like, you're so in the zone that everything else just completely goes quiet, and all you're kind of experiencing is like the pure skiing, at least for me, for the pure skiing that it is. When I ski my best, I'm not, having conscious thoughts. I'm just constantly reacting in a natural setting. And I think that's kind of like what we all strive for. And it's hard too. I mean, getting to that state, you have to have the trust and confidence to allow yourself to get there. And I feel like that's something that's not, at least for me, not attainable every day, but I try to strive for that. And when I can get there, then that's when I perform my best.
Yeah, it's very cool. And is the Cochran's slope side syrup a part of that initiation to get into the zone?
Yeah, I mean, usually I'll take some before I race, so it's definitely part of my process. I mean, part of that's too just like I love maple syrup and taste of home. So it's we always try to bring part of ourselves and our personality to these types of big events, and that'll definitely be a part of it. Hopefully there'll be some pancakes in the Olympic Village too, where we're at.
There usually is. There's usually waffles or pancakes in the Olympic Village, almost always. Dude, I think that's awesome that you guys have your own syrup. But like that's if I can see you out there, I definitely will be standing by and just taking shots of syrup because I don't drink. So, all right, everybody, let's get ready. I'm gonna get my glucose ready. That's very, very cool. Hopefully, people can. I'm sure they'll follow you and they'll figure out where they can support and purchase some of that stuff. I think that's really cool. All right, look, this is an important moment. You're so close to getting ready to come race. I'm sure you're putting in the final tweaks and adjustments. What do you want to be able to feel before you race? And then what is the thing you want to be able to say that you've accomplished after the race, regardless of the outcome?
I've been thinking about that a little bit, especially kind of like these last few weeks. We've had some key competitions, and they're definitely like in a way simulations of what the Olympics are about. So just analyzing, what I've been doing well, what I've been lacking, and I think the biggest thing is like when I'm standing in the start gate, to have the confidence of just trusting myself and just going out there and skiing freely. It's this like kind of like light kind of feeling that I get, and just going out there and flowing with the mountain, and embracing the snow that is there, the way the terrain is, and just kind of accepting that challenge and just being totally present and enjoying that moment. So if I can have fun with my skiing, I think honestly that's what will get me the most success. So prior to the race, the freedom to actually go out there and ski how I want. After the race, I think if I felt like I had the most fun out there that day, I think that's really ultimately where I'll perform my best. Whether or not, how that compares to the rest of the world, who knows? But for me, that's kind of my pursuit.
I love that. There's a theme here. I was writing about this the other day, and I was just talking to Jessie Diggins, who I don't know how much time you spend with some of the other athletes, but Jessie was talking about when I was asking her, how does she and when does she perform her best? And a large part of what she does is when she feels her best, which is she likes to have fun. She's, for her pre-game is like joking around, being loose and flexible and dynamic, versus like, others are like really intense and getting ready. Everyone's got their own style and way, but there is this similarity, man, that like people who have fun doing what they're doing. I just call it like, it's for the love of the game. When you are in your greatest state, the work's been done. The 4 years, the 8 years, the battling back from injuries, like the mental challenging stuff. When you're there in the moment and you're just loving what you do, these are some of the most important parts of this. Sorry, there's just a fire truck going by. 1 second. I don't know if you can hear that. Just get like maybe 10 more seconds. Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll just start over again. Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Ryan, because there is something, man, when I think back on my own career too, there was like moments where, I'll talk about this. Well, look, Ryan, I'm super happy that you brought that up. I think that is a critical piece. Oh, sorry, one more time. Can you hear that, Matt, or is it okay? Should be good now. Yeah, we're good. We're good. All right, Ryan, I'm super happy that you brought that up. I think that there is this concept of like loving the game. Somebody told me this a long time ago. When you're competing against someone who just loves playing the game, it's really hard to beat them because they will just keep showing up day after day. It's work, but it's kind of not like work because they just want to go out there and play the game. And, I think back to my own career when I battled and I struggled, right? The kind of the better that you get, the more results oriented that you become, which is weird. This inverse relationship to having fun because then all the emphasis is placed on, well, I'll have fun once I win, but it doesn't work that way. You have fun, which allows you to actually win. And it's really interesting. Jessie Diggins, who I don't know how much time you spend with some of the athletes, she was saying that her pregame ritual is all about being relaxed and loose and flowing with the other athletes and coaches. And she wants to feel like she's just having fun. When she's having fun, that's when she's at her absolute best.
Yeah, I mean, I know Jessie a little bit, and I feel like I have so much respect for her and everything she's accomplished. And it's funny because I totally connect with that, but also I think her type of fun is so different from my type of fun. I mean, she's like pushing her body to the absolute max in her events, whereas I'm trying to like actually enjoy myself. But yeah, it's so much about, I think, what brings us into these sports, why we're so passionate about it. And I think the ones that make it to this level, obviously there's so much hard work and grit and, perseverance in these types of things. But I think at the bottom, I mean, the base, the foundation is the willingness and the kind of acceptance of going there and doing it because you love it and because of that joy and having fun. I think, you have to have that kind of deeper purpose than just trying to get like being on a podium or making to the Olympics. Those things I think they're important in our sport, but the ones that truly make it to greatness, I think their pursuit is so much beyond that. It's beyond the results. It's more about, the purpose of being better and finding that, trying to push your limit and trying to see as far as you can take it. So I totally, I think it's easy, especially the events that I do there, like whether or not you're skiing fast or slow, there's such a kind of, I don't know, just exhilaration that's involved with it. And I think when I can look back and I'm like, oh, this is like, if I'm in a run and I'm like, man, this is so cool, I'm having so much fun. It seems like those runs are the ones that actually take you a lot further than when you're fighting it and you're just trying to make a result. Then you're kind of like through that struggle. So yeah, trying to remember the important things. And ultimately that is, that passion for the sport.
Yeah, you said that perfectly. All right. Well, has there been any like really, I think like changing or speed changing technological advancements since the past couple of games that you've competed in? Like in this past quad, what has changed that has altered the way that either you train or the way that you guys compete?
That's a good question. I mean, I feel like the advancements were earlier, kind of like mid 2010s. Just with regulations in terms of like the ski limitations, or I mean, it was basically just the length of the skis, the width of the skis, and the radius of the skis for our events. FIS was trying to make these speed events safer. So that's kind of all been in place for a good amount of time. And honestly, the equipment's changed a little bit, but it's very like personable. It's less than like it's not like when skiing went from straight skis to shape skis. There's kind of smaller nuances with that. I think the biggest thing, I mean, for me, like having the airbag system now with our back protectors, and then really what I think is so important is using cut-proof materials under our suits, just to try to limit that risk, which has been the last, I mean, cut-proof, we've had like cut-proof underwear available probably for the last 4 years, but this year is the first year that FIS has actually implemented, especially in speed events, that you have to have cut-proof. So now I wear a full body undersuit that's cut-proof, which obviously, I mean, it's hard to say how safe it is, but I do think like just knowing that we're trying to continue to find ways to protect athletes as much as possible is beneficial. But that, I mean, that doesn't really change our performances so much. It's kind of just, I guess, believing in the safety of ourselves.
That's interesting. So in short track speed skating, when I first started speed skating, we never, it was just the Lycra racing suit. There's nothing underneath. And then there was a few devastating injuries that occurred. And then everyone's like, okay, we need to figure this out because the speeds are getting so high. The blades are so sharp. Injury risk is just skyrocketing. And so now, and then they had these kind of Kevlar, almost stretch-like material that we would wear underneath. And now it's all sewn into the actual suit. And so that's been a big benefit, I think, for a lot of athletes. So that's cool to hear. All right. Look, I don't know how long the legacy of an athlete like yourself continues in the sport, but when you're building something in the realms of, the speeds and, sorry, we just wait for a second. There's just like all this crazy noise on our side.
No worries.
Can you hear that, Caesar? Yeah. Sorry, Ryan. This is there was 4 crazy fire trucks that just went by, and now someone's drilling upstairs.
Oh, gotcha.
Caesar, we can hear it, but can you hear it in yours? He can hear it on his. I can't, if Matt says he can't hear it.
Okay. Well, depends on what audio they want. I hear it.
It's pretty bad. They're drilling like directly above. No, they just started. All right, let me see if I can, when there's a break, I'll ask you like a couple of final questions, Ryan, and let you get on your way. And then you just answer them. And then I think when you're speaking, it's not going to be the sound, so it's fine. It's more like when I'm speaking, it's going to be the issue.
Yeah. I hear you.
It's cool, man. You got, dude, your sport is so dope. Do you guys get like I always wonder this, like, do you guys get like a special pass, like globally, for the ski resorts? Or is it just like, like, how does that work,
No, I mean, most of the, every time we're traveling, sometimes it's like if we're training at a specific venue, then our tickets are kind of like also paying for the training venue. But if I'm just skiing independently, I think, one, we get the Icon Pass and then also the Indy Pass. And historically we've had the Epic Pass as well. So like between those 3 passes, you get a lot of different mountains. In the past, you could probably also just go and talk to like a mountain manager if you wanted to try to get a ticket. But we definitely have a lot of access. That's been pretty nice. And also when we're like skiing all the time, like when I go home, I have my 2 mountains that I'm kind of like tried and true. I mean, one being Cochrane's, like the other one probably Sugarbush, that I enjoy skiing at. So I'm not really going on vacation to go skiing right now.
Yeah.
Later in life.
Yeah, later in your life. Right now, it's about like very functional, specific, sport specific. I get it. All right, man, I'm super excited to watch you here in a couple weeks. Kudos to all your efforts and the energy you put forth. What do you want to be able to say to yourself after you complete these games? Like, what would make this successful for you, for the team, and any messages that you have for Team USA?
I mean, yeah, it's so hard to say. I think like competition is so much about just trying to do your own best, controlling the things you can control. So I think for me, a successful games is just so much about having the right mentality when I'm in the start gate to go and ski, the way that I want to ski, put myself out there, ski with intent, ski with passion. And then, I mean, obviously you want results, you want medals, those types of things. And sometimes those are also out of your control. So as much as, that want and desire, I think it's more about having a focus of the skiing itself and finding that. And I think for everyone, that's a part of Team USA, just go out there, trust yourself, have confidence in yourself. You put in the work, there's a reason why you're here. You're the best that we have in the US, and embrace this opportunity and have fun. I mean, it's only once every 4 years, and you never know when you're going to get the same opportunity. So embrace it, and just really be limitless with that pursuit.
Oh, I like that. Be limitless with pursuit. Have fun. Embrace it. This is your moment. I said a lot of this stuff. There was a couple of messages that I did with Team USA when I was prompting kind of all of you guys getting ready for this, the greatest moment of your lives. You've been here before, so it will have some familiarity. But as you know, every games is very uniquely different. And you're right, man. This is your moment. It's as you put in the work. Only you have had the experiences and felt the challenges that are there. Only you know what it feels like to be in Ryan's body and in his skis, skiing at his absolute best. So yeah, this is your moment. It's very cool. Well, Ryan, it was an honor to spend some time with you. Thank you for breaking away from your busy schedule. I know you're deep in the preparation right now in the final stages. So good luck. I know there's more that you have to focus on leading up to these games, a couple more modifications and adjustments. And we're very excited. Congratulations again on making Team USA. And we'll see you in Milan.
Awesome. Thank you, Apolo. This time awesome.
What's my favorite spot on campus?
Is it Bandit?
I feel like Valentia because it has food and coffee.
Okay, whatever. Just kidding.
When is my birthday?
October 14th, 2002.
Yep.
When is my birthday?
January 25th, 2004.
All right, well, what's my major?
Social work.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's kind of broad.
2 in a
but,
row.
oh, yeah. Who is my hockey idol?
Hillary Knight?
Yeah.
Well, I don't need to know this one. What's my favorite movie?
Miracle.
Sure.
What is my nickname?
Okay.
I'm scared.
What is my go-to hype-up song?
I feel like it's anything Drake.
Yes, but more specific.
I don't know.
Headlines.
Oh, come on. I knew that. ISIS then. Who gave me my nickname?
Grace Harvey, your sister.
Oh, you knew that.
What is my favorite meal? What's my favorite meal?
Oh, steak and fajitas.
Yeah.
If I wasn't playing hockey, what sport would I play?
Soccer. Who's the one famous person I would love to meet?
Billie Eilish.
Yeah.
Who is my favorite musician or band?
A Scissor or Drake?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
All right, Caroline, welcome to Making Team USA. Welcome again to Making Team USA. Congratulations. I just want to start off with a couple of these stats because I think that they need to be said before we jump in. Widely recognized as the best defenseman in women's hockey right now. At the age of 3, you told your aunt that you would make the 2022 U.S. Olympic team, and then 16 years later, you did. The youngest player on the roster, incredible. That is what I want to start with because for me, there's something about the law of manifesting success. I'll give you the reason why that's so important to me. When I was 17, I wrote down on a piece of paper, someone had asked me and a bunch of other athletes, what do you want your legacy to be, Apollo, when you retire from speed skating? And I wrote down, I want to be recognized as the greatest speed skater in the history of the world and redefine what it means like to do great things. And they posted that in Utah on one of the college campuses there. So you made it happen. Like this was something that you spoke into existence at the age of 3. I don't know if you even knew what you were saying, but like, why did you say that? That's really what I'm like. Why do you think that you said that?
I think from a young age, I've had a dream, and like many others do, and I had my sights set. I was like, okay, I know the Olympics are a thing, and I think I want to be there someday. And I was telling my aunt, and I had said, okay, in 2022, which was even crazier, and she was like, well, you're going to be in college, like you'll be 18, 19 then. And then I was like, okay, I'll take the year off. Just the way it worked out. When I was young, I probably sounded crazy, but I've always had that drive and passion to want to make it to that level.
Yeah, and you definitely did. What happened between the ages of 10 and 13 when you were training at this very famous West End gym in Lowell, Massachusetts?
Yeah, I remember my dad, I think he had asked me, because in the off season I would do stuff to stay active and in shape, and he was like, okay, how does like boxing sound to you? Like, and I definitely was interested. I was like, yeah, like that'd be cool. I want to learn how to fight, like whatever. And I was pretty feisty. And so I took some lessons, and I was getting definitely more into it. And my mom was like nervous. She was like, okay, I just don't want you to get in an actual fight. Like, I don't want you to be in the ring against people. You can do the training, stay in shape. But yeah, I enjoyed that a lot, and it was a good experience.
Yeah, and beyond good experience, it was the same gym that's being portrayed in the movie The Fighter. I think, is this right, that the actual trainer that Christian Bale portrayed was Dickie Eklund? You got to train with this person? Is that correct?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
He was awesome. He's very intense and detail oriented, but it was cool to have that that experience and him being a legend.
Well, I mean, growing up, I wanted to be a boxer. My dad said no. He did not want me to be fighting. But Dickie said it himself. He says, like, this girl hits like a truck. So I feel like hockey is one of those sports where it's like, it's a combination of all the ice sports combined into one. You've got like speed skating elements with strategy and teamwork and speed. You've got elements where you have to be you have to maneuver. You got to pivot all the time. And then there's this like physicality that exists in the game that requires a type of fierceness, and it sounds like from what you said, like that was a big part of that. So, I mean, when you were only 19 and you were in Beijing, being on, I mean, number one, at the age of 12, training and boxing, and then having someone who's legendary from the boxing world say, this girl hits like a truck, and then transferring all that fierceness and energy into this productive area of hockey, I thought that was like really interesting, right? And so as you kind of progress throughout your career, like what are some of those mindset things that you think that you have either sharpened or that you have innately? Like what makes Caroline so good in defense? Like I want to understand. I'm trying to understand fully.
Yeah, I feel like I've never been complacent. That's something I've always had the mindset of. I just always want to strive to be better every single day. I'm never satisfied with where I'm at, or I always feel like there's something you can, as you said, like fine tune or refine and just sharpen it up. So whatever I feel like I'm not as great at a certain point with my game, I'm like, okay, I need to work on that. I don't want to neglect that because obviously it's not feeling great. So I always try to focus on my weaknesses and just always fine tune what I'm doing out there.
Was there any idols that you looked up to in the world on either the men's side or the women's side that you really like, this is a track that I want to kind of draw inspiration from?
Definitely, yeah. Hillary, for sure, growing up. A lot of people would say her. And Brianna Decker, and she was my coach at one point, which was super cool. And then getting to play with her. And then also Megan Keller and Casey Bellamy. I feel like those players were definitely some huge idols I looked up to and I still look up to.
Yeah, that's incredible. I know that right before, and I'm just kind of walking through the story arc, right before the 2022 I think it was the World Championships. Your coach had pulled you aside and had some words with you. Maybe they were words of reminder. But do you remember what he was saying?
Yeah, it was. I remember Coach Robo pulled me aside, and he was new to our squad. Like he was coming on, and he was phenomenal just from the get go. He's always instilled so much confidence in myself, my teammates, and our team in general. And he he reads everyone so well. He knows exactly what to say to every individual player and the team as a whole. But he had pulled me aside and was just, again, instilling confidence, and was like, kind of the gist of don't forget who you are, and you have all the tools. Just know it's a mental game, and you got this.
Yeah. I think he said something like, you already accomplished everything a player could have at the age of 19. Play aggressively and don't fear the mistakes. I thought that's like incredible wisdom.
That too, yeah. Yeah. And so then that gave me a leash in my head, because I feel like I was holding back of, okay, I'm not going to worry if I make a mistake, or I'm going to play my game and things will work out. So don't be, like you said, scared of making mistakes, and I'll play more loose and better.
Yeah, very cool. But you went on to have an incredible Worlds, 8 points, silver medal. In the 23, in the 24, in the 25 World Championships, 25 especially, best defenseman again, gold. Just like in 14 months, you just have skyrocketed to becoming more consistent. The jersey, the number that you wear is unique. It's the same one that your brother Nolan wore, right?
He wore number 3, so I was 3 for a while.
Got it. You were 3 for a while. Mm-hmm. Now you're 4, right? And this is like a nod to the great Bobby Orr.
People, a lot of people actually have brought that up or said that, and I mean, I think it would be cool to like reference that. And obviously, he was a legend and did remarkable things. But yeah, I just wore it because when I was 3 forever, and then when I moved prep schools, my coach was like, okay, this is new beginnings. I went for my senior year to a different prep school. She's like, why don't you take number 4, like just start over, kind of clean slate, like it's a new place. You write your own chapter here. And then that same year is crazy because it was my first women's national team camp. And they were like, okay, you can be number 4. So like it kind of aligned really well. I was 4 there, 4 USA, and now I'm 4 again here at Wisconsin. So it's like just the number that I've gone with now, and I love.
Yeah, I love that. And sometimes numbers have deep meaning beyond what the surface really relies upon. Talk to me a little bit about the specifics of defense in women's hockey, right? So it's about a ton of these micro battles and these micro battles that exist on the ice. So like, is there learnings and lessons of like what boxing taught you about winning space without taking the penalties? Because I know there's always like a little bit of a seesaw, right? When you're talking about defense.
Yeah, definitely. It's like you said, like the seesaw reference. And I think it's knowing when to read, like being you want to be aggressive, like in boxing, when to take a shot versus like, pull back and, protect yourself. So it's the same thing where when you should engage or be more aggressive if you think you can win the puck battle versus like, okay, maybe I should stay more at home. People call it in front of the net and kind of, protect our house and not let anyone in because we don't get scored on. So it's kind of a balance between that. And then with the offensive component, because I feel like I like to play offensive too, it's like knowing when to jump into the play, because you don't want to be too aggressive in that sense where if you jump too early, you're caught and then they have an odd man rush against you and they can score. So it's kind of just same. It goes for defense as well as being on the offensive side of things as a defenseman.
Yeah. So when I watch you in Milan, what should I be looking for to understand the impact that you make as a player that maybe otherwise I wouldn't be able to understand?
I feel like something about my game is I'm constantly moving.
Yeah.
So maybe even when I probably shouldn't, like, it's just, I feel like I'm always got like kind of have my engine going. I'm trying to anticipate. So I feel like that's a big factor within my game is I like to move a lot and be dynamic. So I think that would be like a, something to notice, I would say.
Yeah. And pre-game ritual, do you or your team have specific things that you always do that are part of that, either superstition or just pure routine to get into the zone? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I think as a team, like we have like our dynamic warm up, and then we always keep it light. We play soccer, sewer, which is a lot of fun, and we'll try to, get each other out. So it's like a fun competitive thing to get the mind going and get the competitive juices flowing. And then personally, I like to, I see the trainer get loose, and then I stretch on my own, and I'll tape my stick and always have music in to get focused.
Yeah. And talking about a little bit around like this is your second games, right? So what do you learn from the first experience coming into the second Olympics? What's different this time? And what are your non-negotiables in terms of what you've learned that you want to apply as you walk into the stadium?
Yeah, it's always an honor, and I'm just so excited to represent USA over there. And I think it's just taking what from the last time. I was new to everything, and I was really just trying to be a sponge and take it all in and, learn every single day. And I obviously try to be a sponge, and I'm learning new stuff continuously. But I think taking my perspective from that time, and like when I was watching a lot and I gained a new perspective, it helped me to now know, like, okay, I might be in a different role. So being ready for those, whatever it may be, what if they ask for me to go out for, if it's a power play, a penalty kill, or 5-on-5, whatever the situation is, I'm just ready. And I know I have full confidence in that because I've had that past experience.
Yeah, I can relate to that a lot. Now, when you think about rivalries, competitiveness, there's obviously a few countries that come to mind. One of them particularly has always been there, especially in women's hockey, and that's Canada. So representing Team USA, how do you view these in terms of tactics and strategies? How does the entire team figure out how to show up as their best self and make sure they play their absolute best?
Yeah, definitely they're on our mind because they're our biggest rival, and there's so many great countries out there too. Obviously, Czech, Germany, like Finland, Sweden. So it's just for us more so. It's every game that we want to make sure we're not getting ahead of ourselves. Every shift, we want to give our best effort and play as a team. So just taking it one game at a time, and then obviously when we face them down the road, we know what to expect from them, and we'll be ready for that challenge.
Yeah. Caroline, when I was competing, Canada was very strong in short track speed skating. South Korea was very strong in short track speed skating. And whenever, like, I would be in the heat box and I was because what would happen is, we do a heat, quarter, we do a quarter, heat, prelim, heat, quarter, semi, and then final. So if I'm in the heat box and it's the semifinals and it's, 4 or 5 of us sitting there getting ready to go race, and one of my rivals is in the heat box with me, across from me, energetically, I feel a shift. Even though I've protected my space, I'm in my own zone, I'm not even paying attention to what they're doing, I'm lowering my heart rate, I'm getting ready to go compete, everything is about me. What they're doing is not in my control, but there's still like an energy shift because we're in this closeness of proximity. And so, like, I love the team events so much because, and I know I'm not with you when you're out there, but there's a part of me that feels like I'm with you, right? So like we feel it when we watch you play. But like, do you feel it? Like, do you feel like, and I know that you're a competitor and I can already tell, like, there's like, you don't need any external pressure. Like, you have it all on your own, but there is this added layer of complexity where like all of us want you to win, right? And so if there is that emotional state, whether it's anxiety or additional pressure or fear or anger or rage, whatever it might be, how do you deal with that moment? Like, how do you deal with that emotion so that it doesn't throw you off your game?
Yeah, no matter what's going on, like leading up to the games or, an outside life or for anyone, it's kind of just knowing, like, in that moment in the arena, that's all that matters. And so when you step foot on the ice, you kind of just have to forget it and put your sole focus on the game that you're in, the arena that you're in, and with the team that you're on. So that's what's most important in that moment, especially these games. You only get so many, and it's so special, so you don't want to let a moment pass you by. And that's what I do. Regardless of whatever I'm feeling, I just channel it into excitement, and I'm so competitive. Like, I don't want our team to lose.
Yeah. So let's just fast forward here. Let's just manifest this again. You're in the final game. What do you think in terms of strategy that decides the win? what do you think decides the gold from the silver?
I think it's that extra mental edge. It comes down to inches at the end of the day. Like it's those final seconds and how you can string together a full 60 minutes. So I think for our team, it's going to be, having that mental edge, even, throughout the whole game. And I think we'll come on top if we have that over our competitor. Cause they're obviously they're so talented, all the other teams, but it really comes down to that at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's that's the beautiful thing about the games, right? Is A, anything can happen. B, all the work's been done. C, everything's the same. Like the competitors are the same. Like everyone there. The rules are the same, but there's just like this added layer and pressure where you rip open the curtain, and it's like go time. I think that's why we fall in love with the sport. I will be in Milan the whole time, so I will hopefully be able to come watch some of these games that you play in.
Yeah.
So I'll be there. Hopefully I'll be fully painted and just screaming and be belligerent and out of control. Hopefully I won't get kicked out. I will be that guy. And I guess as a couple of closing questions for you, because I think it's important. So for all the young hockey players who are going to be watching you and the team, both, at the opening ceremonies, throughout the games, and watching represent Team USA, what do you want to say to them, right? I mean, you did this, 3 years old, you said, I want to make the Olympic team. Here you are. These are your second games. That's amazing. What do you want to say to that young person who's watching, maybe from Massachusetts or somewhere else in the country?
Yeah, just knowing no dream is too big, and whatever you see for yourself in the future, it could be an Olympics, it could be making a collegiate team, high school team. You can do whatever you put your mindset to. So just knowing that nothing stands in the way, it's all up here. So if you're willing to work hard and be consistent with your work habits, you can make any team and go as far as you want.
I love that. Very wise words, Caroline. I'm super excited to watch you. Congratulations again on making Team USA. It's gonna be a hell of a fight, but I think that you are no stranger to a hell of a fight, and so you are ready for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's just this energy around hockey. Angela Ruggiero is a good friend of mine. I watched her compete for many, many years. This is before your time. But I just remember there was just this intensity that existed. I call it the electricity in the air, and the rivalries that exist in all sports, I believe, just make and allow us to rise higher. Without them, we don't become the best versions of ourselves, right? It forces us to go face to face with the pressure, the insecurity, moments of self-doubt, moments of overconfidence, all of it, right? This is what makes great games happen. So I will be there. I'll be cheering for you. I'll be screaming. And is there anything else that you want to say? I guess there's one question I have, and I know this is the real final one. And I'll give you some context. In 2002, that was my first Olympic Games. I was only 19 years old, kind of like your first games, right? So we shared that similarity. I was like a deer in the headlights. I thought that I knew everything, but then once I got there, I thought that I understood the complexity and the immense kind of weight on my shoulders from it being just 6 months post 9/11. Country was in a volatile condition. People were uncertain if we should even host these games on American soil. And then walking into opening ceremonies, there was this electricity in the air that was so unique. And it was the first time in my life that I went from me to we. It was this big shift in my brain where I was like, wow, this is so much bigger than me. And I got energy from it, right? And so this is your second games. So it's going to be familiar, a little bit some new stuff, but for the most part, how this thing works. And you probably have a even greater appreciation for this. So representing Team USA, you're also representing yourself. This is your moment, right? So we're watching as just kind of being a part of your journey, you on this team, and we feel like you represent parts of us and you are making Team USA. But what does it feel to you? What is this what's this confirmation in your own self, in your own personal journey? Because this is your moment.
Yeah, I like what you had said about the true moment of me to we. I think a moment that comes to mind was the last opening ceremonies, and I felt that it was just that united feeling across all the sports and being with one another, walking with your your arms interlocked and the flag waving and just how loud it was and the lights and the whole experience. It really is bigger even than just your sport, and it's so exciting. And it's such a surreal moment that you can't really describe until you've lived it, like you said. And I'm excited to have that moment again, and it was so special. And the games really remind you of that for sure, and it is bigger than your sport, and it is an exciting time.
I love it. Well, it's amazing. It's bigger than your sport, but at the end of the day, it is your sport. It's your moment. We'll be cheering for you. Good luck in Milano Cortina. We'll be there. And safe travels. Stay healthy. And we're excited to watch you. Thanks for jumping on.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for having me.
What's your winter vibe? Is it a snowball fight or is it a fireplace nap?
Snowball fight for sure.
Okay,
yeah.
you like the action.
Yes,
Okay.
I love action.
Alyssa, welcome to the chalet.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Who was your first cheerleader?
Probably my dad. Yeah, he's always been my cheerleader.
Does he show up with any cool outfits? Does he have pom-poms?
Sometimes he'll show
Signs.
up in Team USA gear. He'll like
Okay.
take my stuff. Yeah.
Nice.
Because sometimes I'll get really large sizes and he can just wear it.
That's #1 cheerleader right
Yeah.
there. So after Beijing, you took a step back from the sport. What was it that brought you back?
I went on a ski trip the beginning of 2024, and I really liked it. Because before, I never skied. They said it was too dangerous, and, I was a skater, so they didn't want me to risk injury. So when I was away, I skied for the first time, and I had a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I couldn't go to the mountains every other week or every week like I wanted to, so the rink was the closest and next best option. So I started skating again.
As we approach Milan, what kind of support from the fans specifically is most meaningful to you?
I mean, it's always just showing up and being there to watch competitions in person. That always means the most. You get extra energy as an athlete when your fans are cheering you on.
And maybe they could take some notes from your dad to be an even better cheerleader.
Exactly, yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Alyssa.
Thank
This was
you.
the best. And I can't wait to keep cheering you on.
Thank you.
Okay, Kristi Yamaguchi, thank you so much for joining us on this show, Making Team USA.
Yeah.
This is the special roster announcement that we're focused on. This is the special series where, a lot of times we were talking to these athletes, these young athletes. This is like they're like, we haven't quite made the team yet. We think that they're going to make the team, but as you know, anything can happen, injuries, challenges, etc. And now all these athletes have made the team. And we thought it would be amazing if we could get someone who is in the legend category, which you are in the legend category, and have inspired millions of young athletes really around the world, and particularly in the world of figure skating. So
Thank you. Thank you.
I consider you to be like a teammate and a colleague of mine. Always looked up to what you have represented, especially for the Asian American community that exists inside the United States, and just made it possible to say young girls and boys say like, wow, like I have parents, or I have a similar background, or I have a history like that. Like I want to be just like Kristi. So thank you for your contributions to the world of ice sport. It's been really amazing.
My pleasure. My pleasure. But you're too nice. Thank you.
Yeah, and she's also very humble. So everyone who's watching this show, you realize there's a common theme that we have across Olympic athletes. I don't know what it is. I think sometimes too humble. Like these people are badass, and I want them to own it.
Sports is
but look,
something though, right?
Yes, it's an amazing trait, and it's one I think to be taught. So why don't we start from the beginning? Because I as I was kind of rereading, and I know a lot about you. I think a lot of folks who don't understand, you won an Olympic gold medal. You did such an exceptional job, but your upbringing was unique in this sport of figure skating was not supposed to be in your cards, right? So the way that you were born, you were in these casts. Like, can you walk us through that just briefly so people can get the context of what your upbringing was like?
Yes. So when I was born, my legs were severely turned in and kind of wrapped around each other. And so the first 18 months I did wear casts on my legs as a baby, as an infant. they were changed every 2 weeks because, right, you're growing so fast at that age. So amazing that the doctors, my parents, were proactive at really trying to correct my legs. And then after those came off, I was in like a brace to turn my feet out, my legs out for another couple of years or so. So yeah, I remember kind of like army crawling on the floor, learning how to crawl that way because my feet were in the brace. And, aching legs at night. My dad would often, or I would wake him up so he could rub my legs at night. But, I didn't know any better. I was an infant and a toddler at the time. But, kind of ironic to go on and find skating and do, what I did with my legs, I suppose.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think with every one of these journeys that, especially with these athletes that we talk to, there's this combination of like parent and team support. Like your mom used to drive you really early mornings, and for those who don't know, in the world of ice sports, I remember we would go to the Colorado Springs, the Broadmoor.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure you skated at the Broadmoor.
Of course.
And we would arrive around 7:30 in the morning. And every single morning there was always 2 sessions, at least 1 session of people using the ice before we even arrived. And these were always figure skaters. So the early mornings of like the 4 a.m. and the 5 a.m., this is like a normal thing when it comes to the world of ice sports, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're competing, right, with so many other like speed skaters, the hockey players, public session. And, figure skating, I think, was always looked at like, oh, well, they get the early ice or they get the, right after school ice. And then, that's about it. So really the only time we could get like a good training session in was before school. So
yeah, I think fighting for ice is funny when you think about that, right? Not only
time, yeah.
are you fighting for ice and ice time, and yeah, it was always very very unique to watch some of those things. As you watch the sport today, right? And obviously your journey was incredible, won world championships, and then you went to win the Olympic gold. Have you seen like changes in both technology, style? I mean, some of these, some of these jumps that the athletes are doing today are like mind-boggling.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, incredible. I mean, I think you see that in every sport, right? Every generation kind of there's an improvement or there's a leap or something. And for sure in skating, I mean, the judging system changed back in 2002, 2003, kind of in that era. And that started skating kind of swinging the pendulum towards being very more technical and, became a point system where you're trying to accumulate points for your score. So the details in skating really became to matter a lot more. I mean, not that they didn't matter before. There was incredible quality. There was incredible musicality, performance, and technical, but it really refined, how to get and maximize your points for a competition. So, yes, and the generation probably from the early aughts on competed without learning compulsory figures, the figure eights that were on the ice. My generation in the 90s grew up doing that. So it took years and years, decades to master the figures. So I wouldn't say there was a delay, but there was definitely, a time frame on how fast you could progress in skating. Without the figures, you could, if you physically were able to train and do the free skating moves, the figures and the mastering of the figures weren't going to hold you back as far as progressing into the higher ranks. So you started to see younger and younger skaters and doing more and more difficult things early on because they were able to, and they were able to just, go with what they could do. But yeah, I think technically, particularly the men doing the quads and the amount of quads in their routines is really surpassed like what I think, especially what Ilya Malinin is doing from the U.S., beyond what I think some of us thought was humanly capable. The women too are, just executing so many difficult things more consistently now, I think, than in the past. So yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah, the progress of sport is always interesting. And in short track, we have that too. We've got lap times that the women are skating now that are faster than many of what the men used to skate back in even just 15 years ago. And so with every, like you said, every generation of athlete comes this like new, it's almost like they break the barriers of belief.
Right.
What you used to think was possible is now becoming the standard. What is now the standard is now table stakes. And then what was table stakes, now it's just like everything, the speed gets faster and faster, the jumps get higher, the execution, it gets more crisp. And then younger athletes are doing things that you're just like, wait a second, like this actually was impossible just 5 years ago. Like this wasn't even in the mind frame.
Right.
It's really cool to see that happen.
Yeah.
I think about figure skating as this really unique sport. I'm curious, like, how often, like, if I'm a judge in figure skating, how long can I remain a judge? Like, is there like is this like a Congress? Like, there should be like ages and term limits, or like, what's the situation?
Probably beyond my pay grade there, but to become a judge, there is a pretty rigorous process, and they are encouraging younger and younger judges. So I think if you have been an international level skater, there is kind of a fast track into becoming a national and then a world level judge. Because they've experienced it, they know. And and then once you become a judge, I don't think there are any term limits. I think, you do have to keep up with the current rules and obviously the technique and how the scoring, because the rule changes are almost monthly in our sport lately. It's kind of been a little bit of a challenge, but
interesting.
There's a lot to keep up with and to little nuances here and there. I think until a judge just wants to retire or has maybe had a few situations where they weren't kind of in the medium of what everyone else was scoring, then it's kind of, okay, you're going to be looked at. And then, they might step down or step aside.
Yeah, I was curious, it's like in short track, a lot of the judges that we have are, I don't know, they're like, sometimes like they're the same judges that were judging when I was competing, right? Yeah. And I'm retired 16 years now. And all of them are actually, they're pretty good. They stay on top of it. They pay attention. But I'm just curious because a lot of this is judged on so many different facets of musicality and composure. And I'm sure there's like all these nuance of details that an athlete has to pay attention to. In speed skating, it's just like, did you do an illegal maneuver and did you win or did you not win? And it's all timed now via like these ankle, timing mechanisms. So there's a little bit less, I think, subjectivity or whatever, just opinion. Although there is some. But just always curious about that. All right, let's switching gears. What should we be actually watching for in these upcoming games? Like, what are you looking for, and what are you looking forward to, specifically for figure skating?
Well, it's so exciting because the U.S. team, I think, has one of the strongest teams in figure skating that they've had in decades. And I think you've heard a lot of people talk about it because we have a world champion. Well, actually, we have 3 world champions heading into the Olympics: Alyssa Liu, Madison Chalk and Evan Bates in ice dance, and Ilya Malinin. We have a 3-time U.S. champion, Amber Glenn, who's the first time a U.S. woman's had 3 national titles in a row since Michelle Kwan. So, and she just won the Grand Prix, which includes world competition. Last month. So definitely a favorite going into the Olympics. And they have the team competition, which with the 3 ladies, Alyssa Liu, Amber Glenn, Isabel Levito, and Ilya, the 2 other men, and Madison Chalk, Evan Bates. They have, I think, the strongest I think, grasp on the gold for the team competition too. So it'll be really exciting. I think a lot of hopes are high, and anything can happen, as you know, at the Olympics. Pressure is immense, and, but I think the top athletes going in are seasoned. They've experienced that pressure. So hoping that, they're going in well prepared. But yeah, I think the toughest competition for the men and the ladies will come from Japan. There is one Russian, I don't know what they're calling them. There's one woman and one man competing from Russia, but not under the Russian flag. So
he has like some like non-designated federation or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have, and the Russian woman is supposedly does quads, which no one else in the women will be doing, in the triple axel. But whether it's consistent, I don't know. And, nobody has seen her. So that kind of throws a wrench into things.
And that's interesting. So let's say that there's this really big move that you want to do in your routine. Do you have to deliver that choreography to the judges before so they know exactly what to look for? They're like, okay, they're going to do this. You have to write it down, or they have a printout that says okay, here's the things that they're going to do, and I will judge them based on the things that they've given me. Or can you make a change in the middle of your routine?
So yes, in this new judging system, they do submit their program components, everything the spins, even the footwork sequences, the jumps and the sequences that they come in, because you're only allowed so many jumping passes in a routine. There's a little bit of wiggle room in there. Say you miss your first big element, you may be able to adjust, and you may have a plan in your head, contingency plan, right? If something goes wrong on this thing, I can add it in later on, or change a jumping pass later on. But yeah, going in, the judges, the officials know, and TV commentators, whatever, exactly what you'll be planning, at the exact time in the routine, because of the point system. It's just, they kind of have to know who, on paper, they already know who can win because they can see the points. Obviously, the second mark, which is more for the composition mark, the style, the expression, the overall performance, the quality, the edge, that is always, that's the more subjective side. But technically, you already know how many points a person is capable of.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. And in terms of visualization, were you an athlete that would do a lot of this pre-routine? When you went out there, did you see yourself executing flawlessly and perfectly?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you did this too, right? You just imagine that performance, right? Before you even go out there. I mean, the night before, I would be doing visualization, and before I went to sleep, it would kind of I don't know, I would use it to put myself to sleep. Okay, imagine my long program, running through it, trying to stay positive and see the performance I want. If I didn't, then I rewind, start over again until it was a clean routine. And then the day of, kind of the same thing. And it's always pushing out all the negative thoughts, right? It's okay, we're not thinking about what if this happens, or what if that happens, or, oh, this jump's been, troubling me lately. It's just okay, skate fast, bend the knees, keep the arms up. Thinking of those last few things my coach always tells me in training, and keep the positive self-talk going.
Yeah. I did a lot of that. In my head, there was probably a lot more of the what if that I would have to battle.
Well, you do. You had to think on the fly, though, for sure, in the moment, because every situation could be different. Every lap is different for you, and you don't know what you have to do.
What about ice conditions? Because I know And I don't know what it was like in 92, 94 period, but I think for us starting in 2002, we would share the ice with the figure skaters. So they would skate the night before, and then overnight, they call them the ice meisters, would then go in, they would shave the ice down, they would turn the compressors on to be really, really cold. I think it's like 17 to 19 degrees or something like that.
Yeah.
And they would try to create this consistency of layer for ice that we need that is like very hot, a lot of grip. It's thin, so it's fast.
Yeah.
But figure skating likes it a little bit softer and a
Yes.
thicker, right?
Yeah.
For all the jumps and the landing.
Right.
So did this play a role when you were competing?
Definitely. I mean, we always were like, okay, we're happy when we weren't sharing the ice with the hockey players because, right, they like it really cold as well. And yes, like we like it warmer. People are always like, how do you know the degrees? It's like, we know. It's like, figure skate, like I always liked it between 20 and 21 degrees. And you can tell because the way when we jump and we tap in with our toe pick, it depends, like that's how the ice shatters or how
Either shatters or like it helps you dig in,
Yeah, or you take a deep edge and sometimes it can shatter that way too, and then you lose your edge. So, because our skates aren't as sharp, right, as yours, our blades aren't as sharp as what you guys skate on. So, you have that grip on the ice a lot more than we do. So, we needed a little bit softer, and with the jumping and the landing, all of that. So, yeah, I think in Albertville it was decent because, by then, by the 90s, I think they had, the ice meisters, right? Like you said.
Now they fly like specific people in for the games for short track. Wow. They're like, we like the way that this guy controls the environment. I think the one last remaining component that people don't realize is, at the Olympic Games, because there's so much more emphasis placed in this moment, there's like hundreds of more cameras and media, thousands if not. There's more lights than ever before because they need the perfect lighting conditions possible in the arena. Wow. And they have the entire arena filled, but it's cold. So everyone walks in with their winter coats and they get hot and they take it off. And so it heats up the air temperature on the top layer surface, which is this the first quarter of an inch starts to get a little bit softer. And then we pour water in the corners to provide the grip. It's like warm water actually. Anyway, all these things that we notice that change. And the reason why I'm asking is because have the body types of the athletes also changed as we've seen this progress? Like, are they getting more muscular? Are they getting more sports specific? Like, what are you seeing in terms of changes from when you were at your peak into as we walk into Milano Cortina in a couple of weeks?
I would say, the women have not changed that drastically. I feel like, always been very athletic. It's, similar to gymnastics where it's like you have the quick twitch, you have the explosive, anaerobic, and then you have the aerobic combined. So, it's a range of body types. I think in the men, though, I do feel that the body type has changed a little bit more because of the quad jumps and the number of quads they're doing in the routines. I would say, back in like the Brian Boitano era, right? He's like 5'10", probably he was probably light, like maybe 140 pounds when he competed.
Pretty light, yeah.
Pretty light for 5'10", right? 5'9", 5'10". But I would say the guys now, none of them are over 130 pounds.
Wow. So they've gotten lighter.
Lighter.
Wait, what about how much did Evan Lysacek weigh?
Good question.
He was pretty tall.
He's
like
6
foot, right?
He's like 6'1", maybe 6 foot.
Yeah, he's really tall. Yeah.
Super lean though, but that's like similar body type though, just super lean, like lean muscle. Like you can't imagine they're doing these incredible things with how lean they are, but it's the velocity. It's deceiving, yeah. But in order to do multiple quads in a routine, I think your body weight has to be pretty trim.
I remember one time and I got to give a shout out to my boy Evan, because I'm going to see him in a couple weeks too.
Oh, tell
in
him
Milan.
hello.
I will tell him hello.
Yeah.
And by the way, I've like randomly just ran into Evan, like weird place. Like I've been like I was in Bangkok for like a meeting, and I ran into him in the hotel, and I was like, that looks just like Evan Lysacek. They can't possibly be Evan Lysacek in his hotel. And he's like, oh yeah, my office is like around the corner. I come here and work out sometimes.
Yeah.
He lives there now full time. And another time I remember I saw him because I was at a gym in LA. This is years ago. And this guy, I was working out. I was working out pretty early. And like most of the time back then, most people aren't doing like a lot of like in the rack or doing like squats. And there's this guy in there just like doing like actually really heavy weight. But I looked at him and I was like, that guy doesn't look very big. But God, that guy is strong. And it was freaking Evan. And I'm like, it's very deceiving, right? Because I mean, yes, he's tall, he's like good looking guy. But he actually is way stronger than I would have, in no disrespect, than I would actually thought.
Wow.
Yeah, and this is like when he was retired, so I can only imagine when he was at his peak,
Keeping it up.
what that was probably like. He's keeping it up. He was very competitive when you retired too.
I'm sure.
Very, very cool. All right, so I want to know, for someone like myself, where I don't know all the nuances and the details of the sport, but I want to like commit to it. I want to like really get into watching the sport. Okay, so like, what should I be looking for at the very beginning, like as the person's about to get on the ice? Like when you look for things, what's the tell? If this is poker, like, oh, this person's got it, or they're not ready. Oh, they don't look, like, what are you looking for in the face, in the eyes, in the first couple seconds of the routine?
I think it's one connection to their music. I mean, you see that in so many skaters. Like once that first note of music starts, it's like they're transported and they're like, it's like being home again because they've practiced that routine hundreds of times. So if, hopefully you see them just lock in and just like be swept away with the music. And I think that's when it clicks for the skaters. When you feel like you're just like not into it, or you're just kind of, maybe your mind's not there. You can kind of see it, right? You see that on their face where there's a little underneath the performance, you can kind of see a little panic there. I mean, we've all had that, right? Where it's just like, something is not right. Like, why does this feel so weird? But you're hoping that in that moment at the Olympics, that it's just, you step on and you feel that confidence that you're ready. Like, this is it. It's go time.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, you have a lot of experience, even post-career, dealing and managing choreography. You won Dancing with the Stars. I think we both share that fun title. You made it look way more easy than I did.
No, are you kidding?
Yes.
You were my total mentor through that whole thing, and in inspiration. You're so amazing. I probably wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for you.
Oh, good. Well, you made it look really easy. Do you think you would have, I know you deal with choreography and you know what you deal with music, but was the show very different? I mean, people I'm sure told you about the show. It was like, look, this is what to expect. But I tell everybody who's ever asked me about possibly doing the show, I'm like, look, I can give you all the information, but until you're in like week 4, your body will then tell you, oh, I understand what he was saying then that I couldn't understand 4 weeks ago, right? It's like a very different experience.
Totally. I remember your advice was, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
And I took it to heart because you're totally right. By week 4, the exhaustion starts seeping in. And I think what I wasn't prepared for, like I knew physically it was going to be hard. And learning something new and, the rehearsals and just being ready to perform. I wasn't probably as prepared as the emotional and the mental, how hard it was. Because I was like, oh, it's a reality TV show. It's not the Olympics, like blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But you get into it and then it gets hard, especially when you're learning 2 dances a week. Your brain my brain could only absorb so much. And it was just a lot to learn and remember. And, it's the style of dance. Like each right? The rules of each dance are so different. It was a lot, but so fun. Like, I think we both looked out at having amazing partners. So that
We both looked out. Yeah. Mark was awesome.
yeah.
He's still on the show. I mean, Julianne is now hosting the show.
Yeah.
It's crazy, the longevity. That show probably changed a lot. I mean, I think, I don't know if I think I told you this. You know, when I went back on the show again, the show now is like 40% dance, but like 60% content creation. Like, that's how the show has become so popular.
Yeah.
And I think about that phenomena, and I place that on these Olympic athletes going into Milan, where you're still expected, results-wise, to be 100% about the results and about your technique and routine and pattern and training. But by the way, we still expect you to be open and personable and producing content on TikTok and on Instagram and on YouTube and all this stuff. I mean, for these young athletes, it is a lot. I can't imagine doing this back. I mean, back when we were doing it, it was like
Nothing.
all you did was train.
Yeah.
It's all you cared about. It's all you're responsible for.
Totally.
I mean, like, are you seeing the disconnect or the change today with these younger athletes?
I don't know how they do it. I think maybe because they grew up in the digital age, that is just part of it. But yeah, to see, the content creation and just putting yourself out there so openly that they do. I'm like, we were actually super insulated, right? I mean, the only time we had to schedule an interview with the press, right? And that's the only access that they would have.
You go through my people. I'll let you know.
Go through my people. Yes, and it's, it can only be like half an hour. Here's your window, and then I got to go train. And so, and then just the feedback, right? And it's just random feedback. Like, you don't know.
The armchair expert. Yeah.
Yeah, armchair.
I don't like the way that Kristi did that move. And it was like, wait, do you even know how to figure skate?
Right. And, when people ask, what's your advice to the young athletes? That's my only advice is like, you know what? I know you have to post. I know you have to be out there, but you don't have to look at the comments, right? It's like, people are just going to throw accolades at you, which are awesome. It's feel good, right? But then there's going to be like 90% of people who are not being nice, and you don't need to see those. Like, no one needs to see that much negative written about them. So, it's a tough balance. I feel like some athletes balance it incredibly and are able to do all of that and refocus and concentrate on what they need. But I think they're just definitely, I don't know, their brains are able to handle it better. I mean, I can't imagine back then. I was so like, no one bothered me, before the Olympics. Yeah,
our protected space was actually given to us and protected, and there was no other expectation to, I think, show up outside of, give us a pre-interview, give us a pre-routine interview, a couple of hits, and then after it's changed. But we live in a different era, right? So the expectation's different. I think we'll see that in the opening ceremonies when the athletes are walking out and every country is being announced. Everyone will have their phones out. Yeah. Everyone will be recording, right? So the being present is kind of being mirrored with also recording for your own memory's sake.
Right.
And we are digitally connected. On one side, it's interesting because we get to know these athletes at a much more deeper level. So we really get to unveil and peel back those layers of personality. As with anything, there's no free lunch, right? You get every side, whether you want to show it or not. It's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be in Milan for the whole time.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm really pumped.
I'll be there
I'm
too.
gonna try to watch. Oh, you will? Okay, well, we have to go watch some figure skating together. I want to watch it with you because I feel like the experience would be way better if I watch it. And you should join us when I go to do the speed skating stuff.
Yes. I know I'm going to speed skating one night. I can't remember which night it is. I think it's like...
Okay, we'll try to coordinate.
Yeah, we'll coordinate.
Yeah,
and
we
then
should definitely
will you
coordinate.
be at the ice house? Because I'm hosting the ice house for like 10 days.
I would love to come to the ice house.
Yes.
I know that's where like so back in the day we used to have the Team USA house where everyone would come and like the parents would come, and that's kind of changed a bit. So I will try to be at the ice house as much as possible. There is going to be, I think, and you should come to this if you can, there's going to be a 20th anniversary of the athletes that competed in 2006.
Wow. Oh yeah.
So
okay.
I think Joey Cheek is hosting it. He was a speed skater who won gold in Torino. I won gold in Torino. So he's hosting like a 20th anniversary. Oh yeah. You should definitely come.
Sasha Cohen's going to be there.
Sasha will be there. Like it'll be a lot of like our this is what people don't realize. Like when we go to a games, it is like family reunion.
Love it.
Like all over. We see all of our friends, all of our competitors who have eventually become friends.
Yes.
And like, we see people grow and they're now either involved in sport or they're cheering people on or they're working in media or they're coaches themselves. It's really cool to see anyway, it's like especially in the winter games is different because it's smaller,
It's
right?
so
And because it's smaller,
yes.
you know everybody, right? And it's gonna be super fun. All right, so we're gonna coordinate. We're gonna watch speed skating together. We're gonna hopefully watch figure skating together. We'll rendezvous at the ice house. We have a packed, championship-filled category of figure skaters that have chances to hit the podium and win. So U.S. team's looking strong. Thank you for the insight. Pumped to see some of these things that we've never seen before happen when we're there, and all for the positive side. This is gonna be a great games. The U.S. team on the long track side is looking good. The short track side is looking really strong. Skiing is looking. We've just got. This is I think since 2002, this might be one of the most stacked ever in terms of potential for medals and gold medals.
Awesome.
So this is going to be very exciting. I'm going to bring like some bells and like a blowhorn because I'm going to try to hit all the events that I can. I haven't been this excited for Winter Games in a very long time. I don't know what it is.
And we're in Italy. Like, hey.
And we're in Italy. So if Apollo's cheeks look a little bit rounder than normal, hey, I'm having some pasta and I'm relaxing, So, it's a party. It's par for course. So just know that I'm enjoying myself and I'm not competing. So, all right, Kristi, thank you so much for your time.
No.
One last question, okay? Simple question. So I want you to deliver a message to a younger Kristi right now. And just talk to her after everything that you've known up to this point, right? So, how nervous you were before the games, you didn't know. And the reason why I'm asking you this is maybe there's a younger athlete getting ready or even going to watch these going into these games, an athlete who's representing us on Team USA, who can see this and maybe it helps them prepare a little bit better. So what would you say to yourself as a letter to your younger self?
Ooh, wow. I would say, this is your moment. This is something you've dreamed of and dedicated so much of your life to. The hard work is done. You've done it, and believe it. Believe that is going to carry you through your performance there, and enjoy it. Enjoy everything about the Olympics because it's so special. Meeting new people, meeting athletes from other sports, and hopefully staying in the village and experiencing that. But soak it all in because these memories will be with you forever. No matter what, happens with podium or whatever, it's just a special, special experience. And one of pride representing your country.
Amazing. Well, thank you again, Kristi, for your time.
Yeah, thanks,
that's a
Apollo.
great message. It's going to be fun.
It is. It's going to be fun. And so many athletes. I've been watching some of your other podcasts, so I'm really excited to see some of the other athletes and hopefully meet them in Milan as well.
Congratulations to Jesse, Ryan, Caroline, and all of the newest members of this edition of Team USA. Remember, this is your moment. Embrace all of it. We'll see you in Milan.